Oh, the irony.
So this week on Sunday Night Football, Detroit Lions quarterback Jared Goff, generally a very good quarterback, was having a terrible game against the Houston Texans. Goff threw 4 interceptions by halftime, meaning he threw the ball, the other team caught it, taking possession. That's bad. It's a turnover. You don't want to do it. At halftime, someone posted a surprising statistic to social media, and it started going viral. Here it is. This is now Jared Goff's 7th career game with at least 4 interceptions. His record in those games, 6-0. Now, for those of you who don't follow football, that is an extremely shocking, improbable, indeed, it turns out, ridiculous claim.
Let's pause here. Football fans out there know what's up. This was from November 10th, okay? Jared Goff was awful on the dais, yet the Lions got the dub, and it honestly feels like overcoming a awful performance from the most important position in sports feels kind of like they're destined to maybe make a run. I know people are not going to want to hear it. So they beat the Texans 26-23, but that stat, tweeted by Twitter user and Madden gamer Civ, made the rounds because if there's anything Musk's free speech platform enables, it is flat out misinformation. And that's where we mention the king of it.
Something to do with the Epstein list that came out?
Feels like
That's supposed to be coming out soon.
Look, this guy's been waiting in his wine cellar. Yeah. I've been waiting in my wine cellar for this thing.
A lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, are really hoping that doesn't happen.
New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers. More from Chris Hayes.
Even people who should know better, like ESPN host Pat McAfee and Aaron Rodgers, the conspiracy theorist quarterback for the New York Jets, who RFK Jr. apparently wanted at one point as his running mate.
I love Jared. I'm sure he'll bounce back. And the amazing stat, though, is this a true stat that he's done 4 more picks 7 times and he's won every single one of those games? Is that real?
Yep, 7-0.
That's wild. I mean, that's why stats are for what Big Mike used to say, age.
Stats for losers.
Here's the thing, okay? For Rodgers, for former Indianapolis Colts punter turned broadcaster Pat McAfee, A.J. Hawk, a former teammate of Aaron Rodgers's, all on the program, it was a lie, a blatant, made-up lie, okay? So let's go back to that tweet, because this is something that Elon wanted, so we certainly have the numbers, I suppose. Although we have seen through Tucker Carlson's videos and interviews, the views are somewhat inflated. Nonetheless, per the metrics, at least the ones we could see, 12.1 million views for a tweet that is flat out false and wrong. Nothing about it is right. It's spread like wildfire, which also, again, shows what Elon's platform is about. No matter the content, no matter if it is true, all he wants is engagement. And why a lot of people left is because the hate overweighs everything. That is the mainstay there. Thus, even if it is completely inaccurate, Musk wants it. He wants it. And that's why you see guys like N-Wokeness, which is allegedly run by Russian asset Jack Posobiec, tweeting out what he is making off of the flat-out hate that he is driving on the platform. Lo and behold, Civ saw the Rodgers clip, included it in his tweet, and wrote the following message. If you ever wondered how easy it is to spread fake information, I made this stat up while laying in bed at halftime of the game. Anyways.
Now, thankfully, this is a totally harmless prank example of disinformation. Doesn't matter. The only consequence was McAfee getting embarrassed and having to walk it back on air. But what happened in that exchange between Pat McAfee and do your own research, Aaron Rodgers, is kind of the entire story of our age, of our information environment right now. These are the guys, those kinds of guys that are doing the vetting of what's true and not in our current information environment. That's it. Those are the guardrails. They are doing their own research, if you will. And it's not just sports. This problem translates across our political culture. I mean, everything. Lies and misinformation and intentional slander about immigration and immigrants and the economy. They're spreading on this kind of terrain where the anti-vax quarterback just parrots an unvetted statistic he saw on Elon Musk's website to millions of people on ESPN. I saw this stat. Yeah, it's true. That's it. That's the whole problem in miniature.
Pause once more. Hayes, I'm not going to lie, is cooking here. For the record, per StatMuse, Goff has, in actuality, only thrown 4 or more interceptions, in 2 games in his career. And what is he in those games? He has 1 win and 1 loss. That's it. As Fox Sports 1's Nick Wright wrote, Rodgers being duped on this one is just so damn on the nose. Yeah, it is. Especially when Nick Wright broke down to a T after that controversial performance that Aaron Rodgers gave on McAfee's show where he gave the Kimmel quote and then went after the Alphabet Mafia. Wright made the point, like, I don't even think he knows what the Alphabet Mafia is. And this is supposed to be like a well-read guy. He points to himself as like the be-all, know-it-all, brainiac, heavy, do-your-own research guy. And then we get this. I mean, he's right. It is too on the nose. Levi added, you mean to tell me Aaron Rodgers just fell for easily debunked fake news and without doing a second of actual research just started spreading it? I'm positively shocked. Shocked, I tell you. It's why Mina Kimes at one point, here's what she said, which I agree with.
Because, watching him, I think it really drove home what is at stake, or like what is the meaningful thing about this story that transcends sports, which is the sort of normalization of conspiracy theories. And I say that not to criticize Rodgers' character or whatever, but really just to kind of criticize the substance of what he was saying, to criticize the sources he was throwing out. I mean, the names that he was bringing up. I don't know, Alex Berenson, for example, the former journalist. So he said his name. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's a guy who's been consistently wrong, proven wrong about vaccines and their efficacy and their danger. He has been misleading in how he has used studies. I'm sure some of the same studies that Rodgers has read. The authors of those studies have refuted him. You could ask any credible scientist, doctor, public health expert, and they would refute him. But when I was watching Rodgers and he said his name, I wasn't surprised to hear it, because the people who believe the things that I think Rodgers now believes, they always cite the same people. It really is groupthink kind of masquerading as independent thought. And it's not just on the fringes of society. I think, as evidenced by the fact, obviously, that one of our most famous athletes is now believing some of these things. But I think a lot of us have people in our lives who have gone down similar I know I do, rabbit holes, who are sort of tempted by the idea of feeling like they know something that the rest of us don't, who, when they're met with skepticism or criticism, as Rodgers was, and I think this is at the heart of a lot of this, they double down. They're still having these debates while the rest of the world has moved on. And I feel like, the fact that that's not just on the fringes is worth noting, and it's worth always checking those points when they're made and not just laughing them off the way we so often do. Because, I understand that there's this inside baseball media aspects of the story that are interesting to you and others, and there's the rhetoric battle. But to me, like, when I was watching that, what I felt was at stake was none of that. It's this ongoing devaluation of facts and expertise.
There would be more. Eloquent chimed in. Impossible. I was told Aaron Rodgers does his own research. That's what he says. Even Reddit joked about him. Now Rodgers is going to tell us the woke mob is after him, wrote one user. He probably will, while having Ayn Rand in one hand. From Awful Announcing, within the context of Rodgers' long-standing tradition of coming on the Pat McAfee show and spreading conspiracy theories and misinformation under the guise of presumed correctness, it makes for a harmless but still notable example of how the Jets quarterback might not be the intellectual keystone he thinks he is. Exactly. I mean, the fact that he fell for it and then ran with it on a major network, I'm not saying there's like journalism here, especially when he's the guy who will go after real journalists all the time, like Diana Rossini. And you know who I would rather get my news from? Outside of the X's and O's, It's Diana Russini. It's an esteemed journalist. It's a credible person. Instead of someone who truly believes that RFK is the answer. A man who, when I'm blanking on his name, a former backup quarterback, he first met him in the Green Bay Packers organization, and he says, Rodgers to him, what are your thoughts on 9/11? And then showed him conspiracy theories over and over and over and over again. Yeah, maybe you should look into that. And then also what he has said on Tucker Carlson's podcast, where he said Putin's the man. How many red flags do we have to have here before we finally just say, we're done? We're done. He has shown once again, from the Brett Weinsteins to the RFKs and many others in the anti-COVID sphere, that they can just be duped. They can live in the echo chamber of dupeness and continue peddling in misinformation to the dupers who will follow them in lockstep. And another thing, if Daniel Tosh is fact-checking you and crushing you on your blatant lies, I really don't know what to tell you. Check that out on it, man. I'm so done, man. I'm so done. I'm ready for retirement. I'm ready for the Jets to move on. I'm ready. And also, what we've learned about Danica Patrick, I'm not surprised at all that they were a couple.